Our next presenter is playwright Paula Vogel. If you know Paula's work, you know that it is fearless, entertaining, and provocative. Her plays tackle subjects that we often find difficult to address. From AIDS to mental illness, Paula writes with an inventiveness and a wit that makes you sit up and pay attention. Paula first rose to national prominence with The Baltimore Waltz. It's a farce about a brother and sister on tour through Europe. They're searching for a cure for ATD, which stands for Acquired Toilet Disease. Released in 1992, the play used that fictional disease to highlight prejudices about AIDS and its victims. Paula continued to expand the boundaries of theater with How I Learned to Drive, a bittersweet comedy. This story is about sexual abuse told through a young girl's relationship with her uncle. Although it's not an easy topic, Paula earned volumes of praise for creating a strong female character who is more than just a victim. These are just two of Paula's many groundbreaking plays. For her overall body of work, she has collected accolades throughout her career. In addition to 3 awards for emerging playwrights established in her name, Paula has also received a Pulitzer Prize for drama, induction into the American Theater Hall of Fame, and a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Dramatists Guild of America. Please welcome to the stage the amazing Paula Vogel.
This is an incredible honor, and I'm so very pleased. I want to thank the Vilcek Foundation, the Vilceks, for giving me this opportunity. I have terrible stage fright, which is why I'm a playwright. And I can never give a speech because I am so scared I can't really read. I take notes and converse. So I hope you will bear with me. The eloquence on the stage in the first part of this program has been incredible, and I didn't perhaps plan ahead and think, what do you do when you start crying before you even get up to speak? I want to pose a question. What would this country be in the arts and in the theater without our immigrant artists? I imagine a country run by colonizing and marauding Puritans whose form of entertainment consists of considering the measure of infractions within the village and meting out punishment on the village square. And that, I think, would be our form of theater. Theater, by its very essence, is at the same time global and specifically local. The world's legacy behind the performance this particular night, this particular matinee, with these living artists that come together only for this performance, only for this production, and then it is gone, and it will never happen again. Tonight we get to honor 4 remarkable theater artists. I have had the great, amazing opportunity to work with one of these artists, and it's transformed my life going forward and the art that I hope to create. The other 3 I have admired, and I have hopefully given you my email because I would love to work with all of you. I want to say that for me, one of the things as a working class, second generation Russian Jew, is that the only opportunity I had to witness the world was through education, museums, not-for-profits. That was my way of witnessing and experiencing the world. Thanks to the extraordinary opportunities I've had and honor of running playwriting programs at both Brown University and Yale School of Drama, I've been able to work with playwrights from Korea, playwrights born in Calcutta, Australia, Peru, and it has radically changed my notion of what the possibilities are. These 4 artists have done this as well. When I talk about educational institutions being one of the ways of breaking down the doors of American isolation, I'm talking very specifically about schools, community colleges, universities, where a young man who had been born in Beijing came to this country after living in France and went to the University of Chicago, I'm talking about Yi Zhao here, and was, I believe, thinking that he would be going into the sciences until he happened into a room, his first year as a freshman, orientation, where there was theater. And that is a blessing for our field. I've seen his lighting. He literally sculpts the space in such an exquisite way. And again, it is our educational, our foundations, our art institutions that have brought this artist of the world to us. Desdemona Chiang. I did give you my email, I believe. I have had so many friends who have talked about your compelling leadership, the way that you as a director, who I believe also has another major, is it molecular cell biology, as well as a theater major, the way that you have been forming communities of theater to examine the marginalized, to examine the people and the issues and the communities that are too seldom put on stage that we pay attention to, is again another gift from Taiwan. And we're very, very fortunate. I believe your last production, Constellations, has just closed, but I'm very sorry. I hope you do it again, and I get a chance to see it. It's been, I hear, a remarkable production. Fortunately, we have her here enriching this field. Sarah Benson, I believe is going to be an engineer. I'm sorry, there seems to be a theme here. Who came from a small village in England and has created, like her colleagues and peers, miracles in a small space. There's a wonderful expression, great reckonings in small rooms. And it is this that the theater can do, that we can create a world of enormous impact within a small room. As the leader of Soho Rep, her productions have been extraordinary. Her production of The Octoroon that ran 2 years ago was something that I felt was earth-shattering. She talks, I think, very eloquently about her vision of theater bringing joy and awe, but also paying witness to the terrible things we do to each other. All of this in a space which is perhaps, 10, 15 feet square, bringing the world down to Soho Rep. Interestingly enough, our Vilcek Prize in theater goes to Blanka Zizka, who has produced The Octoroon this year. I was hoping there was going to be a theme, and that Desdemona, you will be directing The Octoroon, and that you'll be lighting The Octoroon. What's also very remarkable, and I am so grateful for, is that we have these 4 artists across the globe coming here and invigorating the notion of American new plays, of American writing in such a way that I feel that the young artists, the younger artists, all 4 of these artists have worked with several of my students, that it basically radicalizes the notion of what we need to do as writers in this country at this very, I think, turbulent and terrifying time. Blanka Zizka, I think maybe it was 4 years ago, I've seen Blanka's work, and I got my courage up and went down to Philadelphia and entered her office. And I said, I have a proposal, a modest proposal. I've always loved this Austrian playwright, von Orvad, who wrote extraordinary plays talking about Nazi Germany. Unfortunately, only 6 of them have been translated, and I do not speak any languages. Do you think we might craft a response to Don Juan Comes Home from the Wars? And is it possible that we might create a 3-year process where we actually run workshops for veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan and ask them all to write their Don Juan plays? And Blanka said, do you think this might be possible, creating this work for an actual community of actors, a company of actors that I am creating here? And I said, I'd be thrilled. She went, great. She announced the play before we had a page written. What artistic director in America would do such a thing? One of the things that I feel that all of these artists have done in these remarkable spaces, whether it's the Wilma, the original Wilma, I think was on Sampson Street, tiny little spaces, Crowded Fire, the Magic Theater, PS 122, Soho Rep, is that they have, I think, understood in a way that I often worry that those of us who have not experienced exile do not understand. Theater is not about language. It's about the impossibility of language. It's about the impenetrability of language. It's about the urgency and desire that we must create a language that is underneath the words. And the only way to create that language, which I think Blanka's career has been a testament to, is through the language of our bodies, through the language of bodies sitting next to each other in the dark and sharing a journey. And every night we create that language. It is not a language that a playwright creates. It is a language that is created on stage. I often think that perhaps we only become artists in exile, that there's only a moment when we recognize that language cannot communicate for us, and therefore we must dig deeper. The way that Samuel Beckett became a playwright when he moved to France and was stabbed by an assailant and did not yet quite know how to speak French, he visited his assailant in jail and he said, "Why did you stab me?" this Irish playwright asked. And the man in jail said, "Je ne sais pas, monsieur." And Beckett thought, my God, and became a playwright. In the way that Ionesco became a playwright when he started taking English language lessons and realized extraordinary things. The ceiling is up and the floor is down, and Mr. Smith is married to Mrs. Smith. And thus the theater of the absurd was born. Or one of my gods, Maria Irene Fornés, a sculptor in exile from Cuba, who wanders into a little tiny space, the size of the Wilma, the size of Crowded Fire, the size of PS 122, and happens to see the first production of Waiting for Godot in French, not speaking a word. She came out into the streets of Paris that night, and she said, "I saw the universe more clearly. I realized that the world was about masters and slaves, and I determined to change that." It is this that our artists are bringing to this country. It is also the notion of living in other countries where theater is not a commodity, where theater is an urgency, where theater must be something that is a subterranean language because of censorship, because of a regime. That is extraordinary. In this country, we are, I'm afraid, still bound by the notion of studio films that are made like the Model T Ford on a factory line. And it is this that our artists are dismantling. It is this notion that theater and art must be the survival of the fittest, a misapplication of Darwin, if ever there was one, or the notion that there is a limited supply and demand for art. These four artists are recognizing that it's actually in reverse. The greater the supply of art, the more our demand grows. Blanka, having taken me into her circle, to me particularly, and looking around this room and seeing the community who has come here from Philadelphia, I think each of these artists will be creating, as Blanka has created, and they are creating, a community, because it is that the theater artists must do beyond the stage for us to create community. To me, what an artist is someone who realizes that the circle rises faster than any individual can, that there is an ethical and moral responsibility to share with the community, to listen to the community, and to open the doors. So I want to thank these four people for expanding the opportunities and the language of my field. I want to thank them and the Vilcek Foundation. As I said, in this awful and terrible time, you are keeping the doors open to our imagination and to our spirit. Isolation can never exist next to art and science. Thank you so much.